Hey everyone, Jim from Black Lion Sabers, and we're doing a little something different today. Rather than going over a install, I want to do a tutorial on how to, convert a Ben Solo Legacy Saber from Doc Ondar's Galaxy's Edge, of the Disney Ben Solo, to a Neopixel setup. So I came up with a solution. I got a blade holder, chassis, all the bells and whistles. So I want to go over that with you today, how to do that. So the first thing, my Ben Solo it's here, it's in pieces. So I'm actually going to put it together for you here and show you how it works. So first thing you want to do is when your Ben Solo is, disassemble it. I'm going to kind of do my best to put mine sort of back together because all the original parts are out of it. But anyway, first thing you're gonna want to do is unscrew. There are 3 screws right here. 1, 2, 3. Take those out. Then you should be able to pop the switch cover off. Obviously it's empty right now, so there will be a part that you need to, like the switch that you'll need to unscrew and take that off. That's kind of what the inside of the screw looks like, but that's with my momentary switch on there, which I'll show you here how that all works in a minute. Anyway, at that point you should be able to take the upper shroud off, the emitter and the shroud, and then that part should come off pretty easily. Take the existing twist lock blade holder thing out. So let's set that off to a side for now. This part is a little bit more tricky because if you've taken your electronics out, the dropout kind of battery holder and speaker thing, then you've got a part, like a plastic part here that's got the pins in it for the blade. What you're going to want to do is unscrew the clip, okay? Take that off because you'll need it off anyway for the conversion, and you will want to pry these up with like a small screwdriver. Like put the screwdriver tip like right in that channel there. Pry it up, each one of these, until you got them all off. They are stuck on there with glue, so they will pop off. But you cannot get that existing plastic piece here with the old soundboard in it out until you pry those up. So, and from there, I believe there's some screws that may be holding that in. So take those out, pull the rest of it out. You've got an empty saber. So now let's go with the actual conversion process, and we'll start with the blade holder. So right here, I've got my blade holder solution. So if you order the chassis from Shapeways or the 3D file from Etsy, you'll get a part that looks like this. So once that's printed, you're going to want to order a 1.25 inch blade holder from the custom saber shop. So 1.25 inch blade holder, custom saber shop. Not the sink holder one, but the other one. There are 2, not the sink holder one. Anyway, once you get that, you're going to want to slide it into the sleeve here, and it will fit. It will fit pretty well, pretty snug, and sit flush at the top. And there are 2 holes, one on each side here of the sleeve, the 3D printed sleeve. And this is where you're going to want to need a M3 drill and tap set. So you're going to, and it's always nice to have a center punch too for when you're drilling holes. I personally have a drill press, but you don't necessarily need one. You can do it with a hand drill. Just make sure you drill them real straight. Drill the holes here on both sides, and then tap them for the M3. And then get some M3 grub screws or set screws. I got a whole package of them that's got a bunch together. I think that the ones that are here are 4 millimeters in length. Just so that these set screws will keep the custom saber shop blade holder, the metal blade holder, in the 3D printed sleeve, so it's not going anywhere. You can get it out. Okay, Once you've got those holes drilled, take your metal blade holder out, okay? And then you're going to want to drill and tap another hole. Mine's got electrical tape on it, just to get it a little bit more snug, but yours probably wouldn't need that because I've adjusted the dimensions in the final product. Anyway, okay, you'll see another hole that I drilled there. What's that for? That's providing retention on my Neopixel PCB holder, which is also included in the package. So you'll get that one that'll slide right in there and hold your Shock Custom Works or CC Sabers Neopixel connector. So drill and tap that just above. It will sit on top of the little shelf there in the blade holder, and you'll know what I'm talking about when you get it. Push it all the way down, it won't go any further, and you want your hole above that so it can provide retention on it. So right underneath, I put the tape back, but right underneath that tape about there. All right, so once those 3 holes are drilled, put your blade holder back in. Now I use some aluminum black and a little bit of paint there on the top just to give it some color, match the top of the blade, but teach their own. So now that you've got this all together here, you're going to want to drill some more holes, but this time you're going to need this piece too. So take your blade holder and sleeve. Now you don't need to be wiring anything up just yet, okay? And you're going to insert it. Now it will only go in one way because it's designed to keep the switch hole where it's supposed to be. Push it all the way in. And I'm not going to push it all the way in because I'm going to push it back out here in a second. But you're going to want to drill M3 again. Use your M3 drill and tap. Hole here, hole here, hole here, and use some M3 button head screws, just like these. These are 10 millimeters in length. Probably, I mean, you can get away with maybe 8s. But they're going to go into the blade holder and they're not going to hurt anything if they're longer. So anyway, what those are going to do is hold your 3D printed sleeve and the metal blade holder in the emitter. So that means once that's locked in there, it's not going anywhere. So drill and tap those holes with everything pushed all the way in, okay? And then once those holes are drilled, you're going to want to take this back out and make sure that your blade socket is clean. So when you're drilling through the blade socket area, you might get a little bit of, when you drill and you push the metal in. So it might, just take some sandpaper and rub that down so it's nice and smooth. Anyway, on the bottom here, you can see that there's a spot for a Shock Custom Works dropout chassis PCB. So that's where that goes. But the first thing you're going to want to do now, you're going to start wiring, is wire your Neopixel connector, pop it into the holder there, drop that down on the blade socket, tighten up your retention screw for your Neopixel connector on the holder. So that's not going to go anywhere. Now you should have your 3 wires poking out the bottom here for your power, your positive, negative, and your data for the Neopixel connector, right? That's wired up because you don't want to put that in there without being wired. Okay. Also, well, at this point you can start wiring this PCB. So you can wire your 3 wires, the positive for the blade, negative for the blade, data line to that. And you also want to run 2 wires, the switch wire and then the ground, because that's going to go up to the switch itself. And I put in a Dean's micro connector on there so that I can disassemble it easy. See, there you can see my wires are in there. The green's the data, yellow is the blade positive, white is the 28 gauge white is the blade negative, and then the blue and white are the ground and the switch. I don't know which you switch because the polarity doesn't matter. Anyway, so yeah, there's the connector in there. Okay, so at this point, if you've wired up to this point, you're good. You can set that to the side. Here's the kind of tricky part with the switch. So here is the switch and the switch holder. Now keep all of your parts when you disassemble. Put them in a bowl, a cup, something, so they don't go anywhere, because you're going to need the screws that you used that hold on the switch, the old switch PCB. You're going to need those again. Use a 6x6 micro, or a 6x6 by 4.3 momentary switch, the little clicky. I might have some other ones laying around here. Hold up. I got a whole box of them. Yeah. Switches like these. This little bugger. There you go. Anyway, like I said, whole box, different sizes. But you'll want the stem length with 6x6 by 4.3. That's what I used. All right. So, switch holder. You do not need to modify the actual plate here at all, but you do want to screw in the old plate here. The top two go in all the way, which are underneath the switch plate. So the ones that are underneath these, tighten those all the way down. And then there's a third one that will be right above where the switch will sit at rest. I can't really show it to you in there, but it's in there. Leave a little bit of play in it, because the way this is designed is this will, of course, now it's not what I want to do it. There we go. There we go. This will hold in place, and the bottom part acts as the activator for the switch. So leave that screw out just a little bit so you can get that play, that up and down motion. And then stick your switch onto the switch holder, which is 3D printed. Wire that, and then screw that on to where the switch PCB screws used to be. So now, if you do it right, you got just enough play on there, you get a nice good click. Okay. That part's done. Now let's put it together. All right. Blade holder, emitter. I'm going to slide this in like so. Whoops. I want to make sure my switch wire is tucked in there all the way. Switch wire tucked in. And then push it in. It should be tight. It should be really tight. Like I'm having to force this down to get it all the way in. Which is good. That's what you want, because you don't want a loosey-goosey blade holder, right? All right. That looks like it is all the way in. Okay. So now I'm going to take my M3 button head screws that I drilled and tapped earlier. Screw those in. And those should be, if you put them where I told you to, they will not be visible when you put your shroud on there. So, works out okay. There's the, again, first one, location. And do the second one real quick. It's not wanting to go in there just right. Hold up. There we go. It's getting a little cross-threaded. We don't want that. No cross-threading. All right. And with that switch again, if you're not getting that nice click like this, take it apart, either tighten or loosen the screw that's right above the switch. Again, you can kind of see how that's in there, okay? Tighten or loosen it until you do get that good click. And then once you do, you're good. Also, once you're all put together here, you're going to want to drill and tap a blade retention screw. I put mine right there because it's kind of out of the way. And you'll need a longer grub screw for that. I used a 10 millimeter, I think, a 10 millimeter M3, but I did use a Dremel to trim it down a little bit, so I don't know what length it is now, but it's just long enough where it sits pretty flush on the inside and the outside once the blade's all tightened up. So I will say with your chassis, it should be pretty, pretty flush, tight, tight where it should be, loose where it should be, that kind of stuff. But if it isn't, if it's too tight somewhere, sand it. I don't think that I've made it too loose anywhere where it should be. So yeah. Okay, so now with these 3 screws in, 1, 2, 3, again, 1, 2, 3, and you don't need to be real precise with those locations because they're going to be covered anyway. As long as you're getting into both the plastic of the sleeve and the metal of the blade holder is what you want. So that'll give you a nice, good, solid connection. All right, so that's in there. It's not going anywhere. That's your blade holder solution there. So, okay, now get your shroud. Put that on and see, no screws visible now. Pull out, and I'll use an Allen wrench here to pull out your switch wire. Again, the connector is optional, but I find it extremely useful for this particular build, this connector, optional. All right, so now I'm going to plug this in. There, connected. Put that all together. There we go. Okay, there's your momentary switch. All right, so if you haven't done so already, glue your things back on, okay? Screw your, oh, another thing I should mention, the 3, yeah, I'll get to it later, sorry. You're going to want to, this is where having a Dremel comes in handy, so things you will need for this, a Dremel, drill and tap set, M3 preferred, and center punch to mark your holes where you're drilling, especially on the 3 holes that go into the emitter. Anyway, you will want to Dremel down the screws that are here, and then the little nub that goes into the saber on the clip bar thing, because they do poke into the center cavity, and you don't want that for the chassis. So you want it nice, clean. See how that is? Nothing poking in there. Okay. All right. Another thing you're gonna want to do, because once this is all back together, is those 3 screws that you used. The first screws that you took out that go here, here, and here. You're gonna want to Dremel those down a little bit so they don't poke into the cavity as well, because they will poke into the bottom. Where they set, they'll poke in right to the bottom of this blade holder sleeve. So trim those down just a little bit. Anyway, okay. Now we're ready to put the upper portion onto the bottom portion, and I'll do that again. So we'll line that up correctly. It only goes one way. Push it in, and now you take your 3 screws and the button head screws from the Saber originally and put them back in. So there's one. Okay. And this is the middle one. Oops. Remember how I told you to keep your parts, right? Keep them, keep them, keep them. All right, the middle one you don't want to tighten up too much because it's resting on that plastic. If you do, it'll kind of warp it a little bit. So I just screw it in until it gets right to the top, right to touching the plastic plate. Still got a good click. And then that's where I leave it. Really the ones that will be want to make sure you'll be tight is the ones on two ones on the sides. So right there's screwed in. So right here and that one there. All right. I'm sure that this tutorial is going to be clear as mud for people watching it, but I'll always be available. You can message me on Facebook, at Black Lion Sabers, or Instagram or whatever, and I'll help you out through it if you have questions. So hopefully this alleviates some questions, but we'll see. All right, now Sabers back together. If you're this far, congratulations. Now you just get to wire up your chassis, right? Okay. Here's the chassis. Set this down for right now. It's pretty standard. This cavity here is for a BT909 Bluetooth module that it's with the stock Custom Works breakout board. Saber sells them. Very not useful in terms of wiring to this, because if you wire directly to the BT99, it's pretty tough. But anyway, there's the bottom plate for the chassis connector. Okay, so there's the other side. Bluetooth module, Proffie 2.2, kill switch, removable battery. And that's with a custom heat shrink wrap on there. So pretty easy to get the battery out. There we go. Make sure, the way this is wired up, positive, negative. So make sure you don't want to switch those up because you will break your board. Once you get your speaker wired up, and now this is not a tutorial on wiring up a Proffie. There are tons of those. You can learn to do that elsewhere. This is just for this particular chassis. So sorry about you. Anyway, so once you get your speaker wired up and glued in, I always use E6000 glue, by the way, so that if I do make a mistake, the E6000 can be removed, whereas like super glue or hot glue, it gets a little messier. So anyway, that's what I use. Okay, so once your speaker's wired up and glued in there and solid, glue the stock engine detail thing on here, the speaker cover. It's got some sound venting in there. Glue that back on so that you'll have that detail once this slides back up into the chassis. Also, right here, these two LEDs you can use for your Bluetooth indicators, or you can just wire them up as accent LEDs. Your choice. The BT909 does have a LED indicator mounted on it, so it's up to you. I wired it up as Bluetooth indicators. So let me turn it on and I'll show you what I mean. There's the blink. All right, so that means that the Bluetooth is active. I'm recording this on my phone, so I can't demonstrate the Bluetooth. So, oh well. But it's awesome. It works. It's great. You can control it with your phone through the Force Sync app, which Dimitri Stock has developed for the iPhone and Android now. So I'm an Android user, so I'm able to use it on mine. Anyway, you can see how I painted mine up. You can paint it however you want. But yeah. Okay, so this is all back together. Once you're installed, drop your chassis into the Saber, like so. Now, since I am anal retentive, I'm going to make sure that this is lined up correctly. But yours doesn't have to be, because that connector for the chassis is rotary, so it can be in any position. Anyway. All right, that's right where I want it. Now you're going to screw on your bottom cap. Hopefully you didn't lose that, because remember I told you keep all your parts. Okay, bottom cap's on. Saber is on. There we go. So one button setup. Okay, that's that. Here's a blade and blade retention screw, right? Told you to drill on top of that. Okay, blade is in there. See how that looks just so nice and clean? It's not sticking out of there. Anyway. And there is your proffie powered Ben Solo lightsaber. There we go. All right. Final thing to go over, I guess. Well, two things, really, I wanted to show you. Number one is that your chassis kit comes with a blade plug too. Cool. You can, if you want to find some diffuser in there to block the light a little bit. This is not the, it's my blade plug. It's not the blade plug that comes with it. I actually had a Kylo Ren blade plug from turn the button on accidentally. A buddy gave me a Black Series Kylo Ren hilt just to kind of fiddle with, and truth be told, I didn't do anything with it. So, but it had the blade plug in there, and I was like, I'll reuse this. So I cut it down so it fits all nice and flush, and put some diffuser in there so when you light it, there, it looks like that. So you can't see directly down into the Neopixel connector. This font, by the way, is Young Solo by K. Sith. There we go. I don't know if there are more Ben Solo fonts out there. If there are, it's probably the best one because K. Sith's awesome. All right, so if you did this right, blade holder is going to be solid as a rock. Saber is going to be nice and sturdy. The last thing I wanted to show you is that this is the old belt clip, the one that comes with it. Now this is completely optional, but I replaced this because this is garbage. It's supposed to be brass, and I don't know if you can see if I can get to focus. There. Anyway, you can see how it's just painted, and it's kind of, there. It's kind of chipped off because it comes with that cool clip, and the paint will chip off when you put it in the clip. So I didn't like that. I thought it was stupid. Why would you paint a belt clip? I don't know. Anyway, I bought a sheet of brass of I think it was 1.64 millimeter brass, just a sheet, a little strip, and cut that down and filed it and all that. So I made a new one. And it's actually it's brass, and yeah, it's got the little. Anyway, I'd use some aluminum black on there to kind of turn it a little darker, and then steel wooled it to bring the color back just a little bit. But like I said, optional. So now it's actual brass and won't chip off there. And still works.
Crystal core energy.
Oh, press the button on me. Here.
Ben Solo.
There we go. Slide that off. Okay, there's your hilt. Your conversion. Enjoy. If you made it through this whole, goodness, we're just about at a half hour. Made it through the whole thing. Appreciate it. Again, just kind of doing my own thing right now. Building sabers, building other props. So I do have some fun news. I won a Balance V4 from Roman Props. So I might install that in the future. I still have a couple of videos to do on the mom that I've been saying forever. Really what's holding me up on that is I need to paint. I need to do the final detail on the control box, the reveal board. So I haven't done that yet. I've been putting it off. So also need to do a review on the SSOB, the stunt Obi-Wan saber from One Replicas that's installed with a Golden Harvest board. So I'll get to that eventually. But anyway, thanks for watching. May the Force be with you. Vrepit Sa.